Okay, in this question it said the cost in dollars is linear of the total minutes. It's a cell phone problem. Says the monthly cost in dollars of long distance phone plan is a linear function of the total calling time. The monthly cost for 33 minutes is $16.72 and the monthly cost for 89 minutes was $22.88. What is the monthly cost for 83 minutes of calls? And then it showed a graph in the picture. It showed in the graph your x and your y axis, and they drew a line like this, and they said this side was going to be your monthly cost and down here was going to be the time in minutes. So that tells us, since this is the x-axis, that the x values are the minutes and the y values are the dollar amounts, because that's the y-axis. Now when I read this problem, the first thing that jumped out at me right away was this word linear. Linear should always make us think of y equals mx plus b, that format of a problem. That if they said it's a linear thing, then we're looking for a linear equation. And there's some steps here to finding a linear equation. You first have to find the slope, which is m. Once you find the slope, then you're going to find the b value, which is your y-intercept. Once you find both of these, you're going to plug them into the y equals mx plus b equation. You're going to replace the m and the b, and that's going to be your equation that you can use over and over again. So that in the end, when they said, well, you know, what's the cost if they have 83 minutes? Well, now we have a template here. We can then plug in that 83 and then solve to find out what the cost is. So these are the 4 steps we're going to follow. I'll detail them in just a moment. But over here, then, the details is, first I said, notice the word linear. That should make this y equals mx plus b jump out at you. Then find the slope. Yes, m represents slope. And to find the slope, you have to find 2 sets of the x and y coordinates. Look in the problem for 2 sets of information that you could use as x and y values. And remember, over here it said the x value is the minutes, and the y value was the resulting dollars. And so they did give us 2 situations up here. They said for 33 minutes, that was the minutes part, there is $16.72 for the cost. They also said that for 89 minutes, there was a cost of $22.88. So here's our 2 sets of XY values. Minutes and dollars, minutes and dollars. Now it doesn't matter which one is considered the first set and which is the second. It really doesn't matter. Some teachers might tell you that the smallest x value should be the first one and this would be the second one. So we would call this the first x and this the first y. And this the second x and this the second y. But really doing the work, it would still come out correctly if we switched it around the other way. So don't worry about that part so much. But it says find the slope using these 2 sets of x and y coordinates. And the slope formula is, so I put here that, you know, x is the minutes, y is the dollars. So we have x1, y1, x2, y2. And the 1s and 2s just mean from the first set. The x from the first set, the y from the first set. The x from the second set, the y from the second set. That's all those little numbers mean. So when you're using the slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, meaning the y from the second set subtract the y from the first set. X from the second set, subtract x from the first set. What that really, the goal is that if you start with one number on top, then you need to start on the bottom with a number from that same set. They need to be from the same set. So it could be read as y1 minus y2 and x1 minus x2. That would have been fine also. Just make sure these 2 numbers are from the same set. So do that subtraction and you'll find your slope. So when I set this up, it is y2, which is 22.58, minus y1, which is 16.72. Oh, there's my dog, sorry. They're playing around and got a little rough. then the x2, which is the 89, minus the x1. And so that's how you're supposed to set that up to find the slope. I didn't grab my calculator. Hang on a second. Make sure I have that in hand so I can tell you what those numbers are. Okay, so if we have 22.58 minus 16.72, the top part is 5.86, meaning there was a difference in price of 5.86, and then here, when you subtract, you get 56. So our slope is this, and we can continue on doing the division, because remember, fractions are division. So if you do 5.86 divided by 56, it comes up with this decimal. And for our purposes, I didn't see on the directions what they wanted you to round to. I would say, because we're dealing with money in general, I would say 2 place values should work for us. Maybe on this one, while we're doing the math, we'll go to 4 place values just to make sure we're accurate. So let's call this 0.1046. And then later on, when we end with the money, we'll make sure we only have 2 decimal places. So this is my slope. This is the m that we were looking for. All right, so now that we know the m, then we go to the next steps, or we did step 2 here. That was find the slope. We got to figure that out. Over here in this box, that was find the slope was first step. The only reason I made it the second step on this side is because I wanted you to notice that word, the linear word that means y equals mx plus b. But once we find the slope, then we look for the y-intercept, meaning where did this line touch the y-axis? What is the beginning point? What's the value of this right here? That's what b is. It's where does the line begin? And how you find that is you use your y equals mx plus b formula, and you plug in the slope, because now you know the slope. You plug in the slope and one of the known sets of x and y. It doesn't matter which one, just one of them, to solve for b. So we can plug in our slope, which we said was 0.1046, and we're going to choose a set x or y, x and y. When I look at these sets, neither one of them matters to me. I'm going to use this one because the numbers are smaller. So that means for x, I'm going to put in the 33, and for y, I'm going to put in the cost that there was for that 33. So I put in y, I put in x from the same set. That has to be from the same set. And my slope. So then I got to put the b here. And that's the thing I'm trying to solve for. So now I need to do the math to solve for b. So I'm going to start by multiplying the 0.1046 times 33. And that gives me 3.4518. And now I want to get b alone because I want it to say, hey, this is what b is. So I'm going to subtract that from both sides. Sorry, that noise is my dogs under my feet having fun rustling around. So on this side, they cancel out, but I'm going to subtract it here. So 16.72 minus 3.4518. Here we get 13.2682 is equal to b. Okay, so now, since we're dealing with money, I'm going to call this 13.27. I'm going to round that. Remember, you look at the 2 places and look at the number next door. So 13.27 is our b value. So now we know our slope, we said, was 0.1046, and our b value is 13.27. And that's what we needed. We needed to know our slope and our b value, so now we can plug those in to this template. So that means that our equation is y equals, and we're not putting any numbers for x and y now. We just needed those earlier to be able to solve, to find m and b. But now we just want a regular equation that will tell us what the slope is and the y-intercept. Okay, so what this tells us is that x is the minute. So every time we have one more minute, this is how much they're charging. Basically 10 cents, roughly 10 cents per minute. This is the basic monthly charge, that when there's no minutes, they're still paying $13.27. So their bill is based on this. So now we found the m and b and we plugged it into the y equals mx plus b. If they just asked for an equation, that's all we had to do. But now they said, find out how much the cost for 83 minutes is. So 83 minutes, the minutes are the x. So we're going to come over here to the template that we made, and we're going to put in there the 83 to find out how much it costs for the 83 minutes. So we're expecting it's going to add about $8.30, because remember we said it's about 10 cents a minute. So let's see here. Times 83 plus 13.27. When you do that math, it says the cost, which is y. Now my answer came up because I'm using 4 decimal places, so my answer came up like this, but again, we're talking the y is money. So we need to make sure we represent it rounded off to 2 decimal places like our money system is. So the cost of 83 minutes was $21.95 because it included the cost for the minutes and the monthly fee.